Welcome to Marketing Demystified, the podcast that connects the dots for business leaders to drive revenue through effective marketing strategy. We chat with marketing experts on different topics that will help you ramp up your revenue. We stream live on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, and you can listen to us on your favorite podcast platforms. Marketing Demystified, the podcast, is presented to you by GrowGetter, your partner in growth marketing. And here's today's episode.
Hello, everyone. Are you ready to be inspired, informed, and empowered with actionable tips to transform your marketing game? You are in the right place. Welcome to Marketing Demystified. I'm your host, Jen Mancusi, CEO and co-founder of GrowGetter, your growth marketing partner. Now, most events end when the last attendee walks out the door. But what if you could design events that create energy that scales long after everyone goes home? Today, I'm joined by Dalia Algazar, founder of Dalia Agency and creator of Vibe Eventing, Dalia Plus Agency and creator of Vibe Eventing. Dalia works with associations, event organizers, and event tech companies to redesign event experiences that turn audience attention into profit. Today, you'll learn all about Vibe Eventing, how it powers new sponsorship models, how to make events so compelling that attendees want to create content about them, and where AI fits in the whole process. Welcome to the show, Dalia.
Hello. Hi, Jen. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm so happy to have you on today and to have this conversation.
With you. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And I think, event marketing is something that I find companies will invest a lot of budget in, spend a lot of money to run an event or attend an event or participate in an event, and sometimes struggle to get the ROI. So I'm really thrilled to kind of talk through your playbook and see how people can get a little more out of it.
Perfect.
So
what do you want to start with?
Let's start with big picture. Okay. With everything kind of going digital and, not that long ago, 6 years ago, event marketing totally getting decimated with, people getting stuck at home. Now in 2026, why does event marketing and hosting in-person events still matter? What's the value that events deliver that other channels just can't?
So if you're referring to the Corona coaster, which was years ago, and that was actually a huge signal for anyone that was designing events. And then we can talk about the marketing layer around it, because what they were used to designing more of was the in-person, and then they had to switch to digital. And when you think of it, you can now think of digital almost as its own venue. So we have to keep that in mind because we're going through another flavor of the Corona coaster at the moment because of society and politics and so forth. But what's never going to replace in-person events is the fact that you are going to be meeting people in person. So that idea of emotional connection, the sensations that you have are not replicated 100% on the digital venue side. But so the in-person brings alive so many different facets of event participants, whether they're engaging for connections, whether they're engaging for content in a different format, or whether they're engaging most of all for hands-on type of practical. I want to be able to touch something. I want to be able to see something firsthand instead of on a screen, for example. And I'm going to be quoting a lot of Freeman Insight reports. And their latest report showed that the majority, around maybe even 80%, especially the younger generation, they would rather, when you say, oh, we're going to take you to an immersive type of activation or within an event, that it's something where they are immersed in it. There's a one-on-one aspect to it. And it's very hard to replicate that on a digital side. So there's nothing that actually comes close to you and me meeting at Inbound in September in Boston, because I just told you right now that you're coming with me. But um, so that kind of interaction, especially if you've been meeting people, like stalking them on LinkedIn, or fangirling over them, and all of a sudden, yes, you get a chance to meet them in person, you will never want to let that chance go.
Yeah, it's so true. And I'll see you at Inbound in Boston. You've
Yes.
convinced me. But I had that experience of having met when I was at Inbound in September last year in San Francisco, meeting people in person that I had on the podcast and had only met in this environment, and how different. And also that experience of trying desperately to create that same kind of connection in a digital event. I partnered with another company in May of 2020 to host a big virtual event. There was about 5,000 attendees online over the course of 2 days all around the world, and it was incredible. We did our best to create that same kind of connection that you get in person, but what it was missing was like the spontaneity,
Yeah.
the connection you make with somebody when you're like on the hunt for a Diet Coke and you can't find it. So you just are like, me too, I'm looking for like that. You can't schedule, you can't put
Exactly.
on the agenda.
So
And so,
it's like a magnet.
yeah,
You want the magnets, right? And the magnets is, okay, we're going to go on a hunt for a Diet Coke. And that magnet gets actually people to become fans of the event brand, which I know that you want to talk about as well. But, but there are ways where you can finesse that a bit on the digital side. So I know that the focus here is on the in person, but I truly think there's going to be a spike on the digital. So I would want people to be prepared and not to like negate it completely,
yeah,
because that is, like you said, you brought 5,000 people together. That's not an audience you want to like just do done and forget about it. That's a key factor right there for
absolutely.
growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think we can talk about both. We can talk about in person, we can talk about digital, because it is like they're different, but it's part of two sides of the same coin in a lot of ways. So we'll touch on all of that stuff. But let's talk about like traditional event strategy and what that used to look like,
Mm.
and what gap in the market allowed you to kind of come in. What did you see that was missing that sparked you to kind of build a different approach?
So just a little background about the chief ruckus maker and troublemaker that I
Mhm.
am, as well as I get dubbed as a fairy godmother and the queen of events. And I'll tell you why. For the longest time, I'm not going to tell you how old I am or how many years I've been in this industry, but I do about like 50 shows a year. And I do it in different flavors for different reasons. There are clients that come in and they say, come and just check the vibe or the energy of the show and tell us how we could do things better. Then there are others that say, come help us with like on-site activations and create that immersive type of activation so that we can use it as an example for potential sponsors or the surprise and delight for event participants. Then there are others that say, change the strategy, help us change the strategy, the technology that goes with it, etc. And the reason why I'm so passionate about in person or about bringing people together or taking things apart and making it better, because for the longest time, and we still have people that do this, the traditional strategy, the event design strategy, has been a cut and paste for many, especially on the association side. And that doesn't serve the audience. So what's been happening is people have been putting strategies together that is a mirror of themselves, what they would want to see. What
Mm.
kind of LED, like, backdrop do they want in the plenary, which is dark and has 5,000 people in it where they can't see anything? They're trapped for 90 minutes. First thing in the morning, they're playing Candy Crush or whatever the game is on their phone and checking their email, but they know that, they're stuck in there for 90 minutes, right? To those that have a trade show floor where there's no journey design for any type of event participant. So they mirror what they want from a business perspective. They don't design necessarily, or they don't put the time in designing for the event participants and really taking a look at what do those personas look like. So right now, if you look at the numbers, and Freeman and other reports have said this, is they need guidance. A first time attendee that comes to, like, Jen, do you remember your first inbound?
Oh, yes. Very overwhelming.
Wasn't it?
Oh my
And
gosh.
and it was huge. It was about maybe 15,000 people. It was so many different breakouts. The program itself is so, I call it, it's like like you're giving people so many decisions that they have to make. In the end, they get paralyzed. They don't take any.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think of it, so that's the traditional plan or playbook was, let's design what we think is successful. Let's make it big and flashy and spend a ton of money and
Mm-hmm.
make the trade show floor like one booth next to the other. People hate that shit.
Mm-hmm.
It used to serve, but it doesn't anymore. So if what we try to do is we try to flip the script with them. So they need to be designing, for example, on the energy that they want to create, on the type of persona that they want to attract. And keep in mind all of these little things, then they have to redesign their whole entire marketing. Because you and I have been to shows where they're like, it's a must attend. This is going to be epic. This is about 5,000 people, 120 speakers. We have 5,000 sessions. That in itself, as a marketing, can actually steer away so many people
Mm-hmm.
because it becomes overwhelming. But if you start designing per persona, where it's like your first timers. So your first timers, hey, you're not going to be stuck in a first timer reception on your own with other first timers. We're going to bring in the OGs from the industry. We're going to do a meet and greet with Shane and Ilya, for example. And we are going to have you speak to your top three people that you track on LinkedIn. Okay, those are incentives. That means someone's going to be there and is helping them design the journey from the beginning.
Mm.
So can you imagine how cool that would be, like in a big show like Inbound, if you're a first timer? And then what if you're a 10 timer and you've always been going? You've always been going for the same kind of sessions, but someone comes and says, guess what? We know what you like. And we have actually a couple of other topics that are adjacent to what you like. And this is what we want you to experience. And you are our VIP. You're going to tell us how it goes. And then, by the way, there's actually 3 startups that are embedded in what you are curious and know about. Would you mind, talking to them? That's a sponsorship opportunity for the startup because they're going to gain insights. But it also treats a 10 timer as a VIP in a very different sense. So we need to start thinking of, how do you design a playbook by the energy you want to create, because that's part of the event design. How you want to create content in different formats, because some people now want content by audio. They don't want to sit in a session with someone's talking at them and fugly screens anymore. That's
Mm.
not how they retain. And then they also want what makes them feel comfortable. So we have a lot of now gen audiences coming into events. This is what Freeman calls them. So these are the younger people, where they're neurodivergent. Huge, loud, flashing lights, opening receptions is not for everybody anymore. So
Yeah.
you're going to have some sort of, flexibility or alternatives to that. There's a quiet corner. There's people that are, geeking over like whatever they're binging lately, and this is where the communication and the connection gets into play for long term, not only the start and end date of an event.
Yeah. There's so much in what you just said, and
No,
I'm
I'm
so glad
sorry.
you No,
The coffee's kicking in, you're in trouble.
fantastic. Everybody strap in. I'm so glad that you mentioned Shane and Ilya. We're gonna hold tight on that because we are gonna talk about our
Well, we'll be
boys
BFFs now that I
a
said it,
little
and
later.
yeah,
I
we're
know.
good. I'm good.
But I think it's really interesting what you're describing, of, sort of certainly, I think this is a marketing trend that not a trend, but like the difference between marketing that works and doesn't is when you're thinking about your own goals versus your customer goals.
Yes.
Like, fill in the blank on any marketing tactic or channel, not just events. Like that is, you have to be thinking about what your customers or your audience
Absolutely.
wants in order to actually deliver that to them. But I think it's really interesting, this sort of combo of thinking about content that you're creating and sort of like how you're adding value for people, but also creating a vibe or an energy or, you know, uh, just an experience. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on the balance there,
Mhm.
because I have been to events that are all vibe and no value,
Mhm.
right? Where you just have like celebrity keynotes that don't know anything about your industry and super exciting. I want to be in the front row to be near, like in the same room as that person, but I'm not learning anything
Right.
from that. Or, you've got, and I've been to events where there's a big half pipe in the middle of the thing and Tony Hawk is doing skateboarding. Cool, super cool, but like not adding any value for me. So, how do you think about the balance of those two components and making sure you're creating that energy and that experience, but also delivering the value that you're promising?
Very true. So, and I've been on the opposite side where I go to events where there is no content, like you said, at
Mhm.
all,
Mhm.
right? So there's going to have to be, and sorry about this.
No
So
problem.
uh, there's definitely going to have to be a balance, but the balance doesn't have to be done or decided on or created in a vacuum. Organizers have a golden opportunity, which they should be taking, where they should be bringing in other minds and other creators. I'm a big believer in co-creating events, design, as well as the content and any other, like anything, any design that has to do with an event should be co-created between the stakeholders, the internal stakeholders, whatever committee members, because associations have a lot to
Mhm.
answer to them as well. But more so than anything, you need outside type of voices. And the reason for that is then it will help with the balance of that. But I will say that if you are not having content, or if you are not having areas where people are learning from each other peer to peer, because that's a big signal at the moment as well,
Mhm.
um, then you have to reshuffle the whole entire the program. One thing that is also a traditional way of looking at how events are being done is how they bloat the program, meaning they put breakouts. You as an attendee are being asked to come to an event. Maybe it's 2 to 4 days, say. Then you're adding on 2 days of travel.
Mhm.
Then you're adding on maybe a week out of the office because you come in brain dead.
Mhm.
So I have a KPI. It's called return on event exhaustion. You're
Mm.
exhausted. It will take you maybe 2 weeks. I don't know what that is, but it will take you 2 weeks to get over coming to a show for maybe 2 days.
Mm.
And so when you bloat, or when you put a program together and it's all breakout, 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 and it's not even the right vibe of a speaker, or you're leaving people to go on their own and stuff like that. This is where those kind of signals, they should be telling you something. If you do not have enough content, or if you did not ask Jen what kind of topics should be included in the journey when she's on site, then you're missing a huge opportunity. And I know that we're going to be talking about AI and all of
Mhm.
that, because that helps quite a bit. But you need to be able to shape the event experience by attendee, by stakeholder, in a very interesting mashup way. It's almost like a playlist. Jen,
Mm,
you're going to go to these receptions or get-togethers. You're going to have like these type of conversations and meetups. These are the sessions that you might be interested in, and here are some of the booths or activations on the show floor that we would love to have your input on, if it's great, if it's not, kind of thing. So
mm,
those type of playlists, that's an event playlist that every single attendee should be getting, not only having to design it themselves on the event mobile app, which they download while they're in the airport and try to like log in the
mhm,
Uber when they're going to the hotel.
mhm. Yeah, I love that idea of a playlist because it's hard to navigate when there is, 18 breakout sessions and
Oh, totally.
across different buildings and all of this, there's just it's hard to navigate and not even, I mean, going that extra mile of creating a playlist for me based on my persona, amazing. But even a step before that, like don't put two things I might be interested in on at the same time.
Exactly. Or to give you the opportunity, if you say, I'm interested in this, I'll go in person, but I don't want to miss out on this, then give me the recording. But
Yes.
don't let me hunt for it. Don't make me email a ton of people or
Right.
talk to a bot. Her name is Emma. Don't do shit like that because it will. So when people are designing with the playbook I recommend or have, when people are designing their event, they need to design the event in the sense of what kind of response or energy do they want from the event participant. So
Mm,
you put a huge grid together, and if you know your opening reception is going to be so loud and so flashy that half your people are going to leave within 15 minutes of getting there, you better have like a little lounge area,
mm.
or something for those that want to disappear. Let them disappear together. I keep making a joke and everybody wants me to do this, so maybe I'm going to have to. I believe in a reception that's not loud and obnoxious. I don't drink alcohol anymore, so mocktails is a must. But I would like a little movie theater room. I give everybody slipper bunnies and
Mm.
robes, and we do a rom-com and eat white cheddar popcorn. That's my kind of reception.
Do you know we are on the same page here. I have rented out a movie theater to watch
I'm
not a
gonna
rom-com.
hang out with you when
Yeah,
you come to Boston. So
for
we already
sure.
found our people. Look at this.
Yes. Well, and that's the beauty of those events, right? Is like find your people
Mhm.
and we did it on a whim. There was an event we didn't want to go to as part of the conference and it was like the season finale or the reunion of Vanderpump Rules and we went
There you
rented out a
go.
small movie theater and
I
a
mean,
bunch of people came to
but
it. It was
so
lovely.
but see, that is the beauty of redesigning stuff,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I mean, I find it that if you have an idea and if you have like-minded people like just like this, you saying that right now, you probably by the time September comes along, they're gonna say, Jen, can we do what you just said on that,
Yeah.
episode, and let's do it in Boston. And I have a venue, and I also have where I can get the bunny slippers. I do know where to get the bunny slippers. So you, things come together when it's kind of different. But when
Yeah.
things are like, when you're doing same old, that's where it gets broken. And
Mhm.
that's where you lose your fans. That's where you lose attendance. And that's where you actually have people coming and saying, well, I have to go because I have to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Or making decisions based on like, oh, there's 9 versions of this event I could go to in this calendar year. I'm going to just go to the ones that are most convenient, not the ones that are most valuable.
Exactly.
So especially if they're all kind of using that same playbook. So I want to talk about like the sort of the vibe event playbook and maybe you can talk just most basically about what vibe eventing is.
Sure.
And then, yeah, we can get into the sort of playbook for standing out and doing something a little different and, showing up in a way that people go, that's the thing I have to be at.
Yeah. So vibe eventing is really like the concept is around energy. The thing about events is that it is an ignition for energy. It brings people together. People get super, super pumped. And there's certain like areas of the event that you can see that they're so energized. And then there's others that are just like dead. You feel it. Like you go in, have you been to a show, like even when you try to go to the registration, the vibe is not even there?
Yes. Yes. I've been to that event 100 times.
And it's very hard to convince or sell. I'll be very honest, because a lot of the leadership and C-suites of organizations that are putting events together, they think it's fluffy. It actually isn't, because if you are able to elevate and the energy, and I'm not saying like with cool words and flashy like LED lights and signs and shit in the reception. I'm talking about like the energy. That means the team you have on site, they have to have that energy. There's that energy is what feeds people from the start when they enter the room or when they enter the convention center. Then you have to keep it alive, and everybody's part of that production. What kills energy is usually those that are not tapped in or tuned in. And like if you go on a trade show floor and you have all these booths and people are there because they had to be there, they're usually the salespeople in the booths. The booth is just one demo after another, or they're trying to sell you something, or it turns into like a bazaar and they're like, oh, are you a planner? Oh, are you something? Do you want to come see? No, I don't. I did not. Then they'll give you a flyer that you don't want to take home or anything like that. So if you build on the vibe of your event, it actually makes you focus on how am I going to build areas of the event, get everybody on board that they're speaking the same language and doing the same thing. Meaning booths become an event. A lot of people that show up on it, as if it's real estate. Oh, there's my 10 by 10, there's my 10, my 20 by 20. And you actually go in a show floor and you see it. They're there and that's it. It's static. They don't have a journey, like how you enter a booth, how you exit a booth. Because if you treat a booth as an event, it changes the energy completely. You can have something that's activated. You have different questions that are about the person, not about their company, not about them as what their role is. You're asking to build that relationship. That's a vibe right there. And if you look at like some of the activations that are super super successful, like I mean, we're going to talk about Inbound again. You look at what Fathom did, where they had like a retro arcade game alley, and you look at others that did something totally different, and it kept people there. The tarot card reader that was at one of the booths, I think at Inbound, the line was about 2 hours long. People stayed in line and they wanted the tarot card reading. But guess what? That sponsor or that exhibitor had the opportunity to speak to everybody in the line. So you think of, okay, what kind of vibe do I want to bring to these different personas in a different way? Because anything that you do with an event has to be mind stamping, has to be an emotional connection that when they leave, they will want to continue to talk about. It's like a Spotify playlist. They want it on repeat, and then they want to share it with others and say, I just had the best time at Inbound. I just had the best time with Jen. We did bunny slippers. I want to do it again. And everybody's like, who's this Jen? I need to know Jen. And that's what you want to, that's the future. Because if you look at our younger generation, the biggest asset we can give them is how to make connections and to keep connections. They can go from one career or one job to another. That's not it. It is how we bring them to events so that they are hanging out with the people that they thrive with and that feed them, and they feed energy to others.
Yeah. I think you're so right about that, and you said it in the beginning, like, this is not fluff, right?
No.
This is actually the difference between having a successful event and not, and I think also at Inbound specifically, it's not I wanna talk about the booth as its own event, but there were a lot of companies that did not have exhibits, and they were on the street with
Mhm.
cardboard signs. They were walking around. I don't know if you saw the guys that were like, "Have you seen my ducks?" Right?
Yes.
Like, those people created a vibe and an energy that was drawing people to them.
And you remember it.
Absolutely. And the guy with the cardboard sign on the street, I took a photo of him, I
Yes.
posted it on social, I talked to him, right? Like, you don't need the
No.
real estate, to your point, to create that vibe and that energy. But if you have it, I love thinking of it as its own event. And I think, before launching this agency, I ran a team of salespeople and marketers. We did a lot of event marketing. We did a lot of booth planning, and there was people used to kind of make fun of me a little bit because I was such a kind of stickler for how you're going to show up at the booth.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you're not sitting in my booth, you're not eating in my booth, you're not on your device in my booth, because if your company has invested all this money in being in this space, you're competing with 1,000 others just like you, and you're going to sit behind a table on your cell phone and wait for people to come up to you. It's not going to work.
Right.
That is the difference between showing up and walking away with no conversations and no connections, because the energy, it's not open and inviting, and you haven't created a reason for people to come and talk to you and have an experience. And those activations that you talked about, the arcade games, the tarot reader, I've seen people making custom hats.
Mhm.
We've done like 360 cameras inside of our booth, right? Even that stuff can be ineffective if you don't then talk to all the people in the line. Just because you create an experience where you can have all those conversations, if you show up and just stand around and let people experience the thing
Yeah.
and don't build those connections, then you're not going to make the most out of it. So it's so important and it's easier said than done, right? Like, these things are exhausting. It is
No,
such a long day, but
it's exhausting. It's also, when I look at like our event organizers or even those that are putting booths together, etc., it is cat herding.
oh
It
yeah.
is worst case scenario planning. It
Mhm.
is it screws with your mind because nothing will ever go as planned.
Never.
And then someone's going to wake up in the morning and say, I had a brilliant idea. And that is your worst nightmare. And so I think that this is where, you have to be very laser focused on what kind of energy you want to give and and prioritize it.
Mhm.
Like, who do you want to reach and in what format? Because if you try to do it too general, then it's all going to be done like half-assed
Yes.
in a way,
Yeah.
right? So, and it's the same with like even demos and so forth. And yes, that we live in a time right now. I think 2026 is going to be an amazing time, especially with like technology and where it's going and like Claude and all of that. But to a point where the number one question you have to keep asking is, how am I empowering or energizing the person that is going to leave my booth or leave my event?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
all stakeholders, like what two stakeholders that, when we do strategy work and so forth, that we think are underserved is the speaker
Mhm.
and the booth personnel.
Yes.
Because the majority of the booth personnel coming to a show, and it's either their first time or they just got on board with the team, and
Yep.
they don't know the industry,
Yeah.
they don't know how to speak to people, they don't know anybody, they feel like one of the lost boys, kind of thing. They need to be served. You can serve them with like a how to or know how, or like this is who you need to give them a first time booth personnel reception of some kind, coffee and donuts in the morning, let them meet others, let them commiserate. I have fun putting up like concepts and then going to clients and saying, do you want, let's do this, so my WTF, which is what the fuck zone, is basically an activation within events where people can just say, what the hell is happening? I don't know if I can curse on here. You can bleep it, Chelsea.
No, you're good.
But so so the sign of the times is you wake up in the morning, you're like, what is going on? Bring that to your show. People need to meet and talk about shit like that. You remember when TSA pre-check applications was a thing, and every event had a little corner, and there were
Yes.
lines.
Yes.
And I'm like, people need either a confessional of some kind on a show floor, or they need a place where they will feel that they let loose, they let go, they found their people. Those are the type of connections. There's nothing more stronger than that after you leave the event.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think too, like to your point about the booth personnel being sort of underserved.
Oh, yeah.
Like so often people are getting thrown into the deep end at these things, and things do go wrong. And I've been that person. I've been the person that was new in the business, and it was my first time planning an event, and a bunch of stuff had gone wrong in terms of the booth setup and the actual pop-up, and my boss was on maternity leave. I was so young, and the CEO came to me and is like, what can we do? And I'm terrified. I'm in my early 20s. I've never done this before. I ran all around Manhattan to every Duane Reade in the area to buy as many little Ghirardelli chocolates as I could find, and set up like a room drop, right? And the next day he said, that was great. You did a great job. Let's do it again tonight. I almost died, right? Like, but
You
I
did
did.
a good job.
Yeah, I didn't
Do
have
it
a
again, Jen. Do it
place to
again.
go. Yeah, do it again. So don't do too good of job, because somebody's going to ask you to do it again. And I did. I had to do it again the next day, and those last minute things. But there wasn't that like, there wasn't anywhere to go. And I always tell people, like, events are a team sport.
Totally.
You have to work together. If you're in sales, you cannot just expect that marketing's going to set everything up for you and make it look nice. Like, you've got to participate in that process and do your part to kind of get people in there and help with the activation. And same vice versa. If you're in marketing, not at an event, you're in sales now.
Oh, yeah.
You need to be talking to people and bringing people to the booth. We used to have a golden retriever who would go around and hunt for the people that were on your target list, right? And create those connections. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
I'm you started to kind of touch on this with these new zones and different things. Like, how does vibe eventing open up new opportunities in terms of event sponsorship, right? Because there are those like cookie cutter, you get a booth, you get a speaking slot, you get the Wi-Fi password, right? Like, if you're operating on vibes, what new opportunities does that create for your sponsors?
So if we talk about the traditional sponsorships, we're talking real estate. We're talking, here's your plot of land, either on the show floor. Here's access to an email list, but not to everybody. And or it's like, here's your banner ad on the newsletter that's going to go out once or twice. Or my best one is, we're going to put your decal on the escalator that goes up. And I'm like, yeah, by the time you go up, you don't even know who that company is anymore. And there's no activation around it. There's no QR code. There's nothing. And that's about $25K minimum, by the way. Any clings, any decals, all of that. That's like old type of packaging. It's based on real estate or spots or a logo parade, things that are not really activated or mean anything anymore to the majority of the audience. And so if we look at from a energy perspective or from a perspective, we're looking at what's immersive, what is empowering, what can bring value not only to the attendees or the event participants, but more so to maybe brand new sponsors. So we start taking a look at activations that serve, that educate, and that empower, whether it's something along the lines of okay, do you want to know how to like build a better brand, a personal brand on LinkedIn? Let's empower you with how to do that on LinkedIn, and that's a corner. Or we want you to find, a new career journey, for example. Let's bring you to the business district or the career coaching area. We want you to take better care of yourself. So, bring something along the lines of brand, brain, being, and really speak to what will serve the attendees better that way. So, the other thing is you can do it where sponsorships are either if you're looking at like on the supplier side, if you have a startup, for example, that is actually building their system while trying to fly it, then that means they need access to insights. Then you are able to curate, say, 10, 15 people that is their future ICP. And instead of putting them in a booth, because they won't know how to navigate a booth on a trade show floor, they will get lost. And a lot of times they're younger and they don't have the skills. But if you take them and you say, we're going to curate 10, 15 people for you, we're going to have a little luncheon or a brunch right before the event happens. And it's going to be with a facilitator like Jen or Dahlia. We're going to facilitate the conversation. You're going to get all the insights that you want, and it's going to help you build. That's value right there. But it's not it's not in a breakout session room. It's not in a booth. There's no screens attached to it, and it's a conversation, and that's where you're going to get the most insights. So you have to take a look at what is going to serve in a very cool way the attendees, and then you map out what kind of sponsors are going to come and say, I want in. And if it has anything to do with non-traditional booths, or say, for example, I was at Money 2020, and they have you been?
No, I haven't, but we have a client who goes regularly to that one.
So
it's a big one.
It's a huge one. And I went last year and spoke there. What was fascinating was the design of these areas, as well as the design of the content tracks. If you're designing a content track, for example, this is not only Money 2020, and it is about a specific topic or something that is that needs more understanding and more interactivity or engagement from the audience, so that you get a feel of what they know and what they can share, then you sponsor the content track. I would rather have something like that than going into one breakout room after another where the housekeeping notes are done by the sponsor and I have to see a fugly video yet another time. Like, things like that, we're done with that. So we've moved on. And so we need to move on the type of sponsorship opportunities. They have to resonate with the design and the vibe of the entire event, as well as what the needs are, not only from a sponsor perspective, but also from an attendee perspective. What's their limitations, if you will?
Yeah. I think it's so clear when you're at an event that only cares about one of those versus the other, right?
It's very clear.
When you go and you're like, oh, they could not care less about the sponsors. Like, they're just focused on the attendees. And they're just like, thanks for the money. Go into the like concrete warehouse. We'll see you in 3 days. Like,
but even have fun. So like when I go speak at sessions, at least have like do something
Yeah.
different. When I go speak at sessions and they say, "Oh, you have a sponsor," I'm like, "Oh, who is it? Tell me the name. What are they in for? What are we doing here?" I don't want anybody getting up on stage saying my name wrong, trying to put a bio together that they put through ChatGPT and waste people's time. So I go on sono.com. If you haven't played with Sono yet, you have to play with Sono. And then I go in and then I create a song about the housekeeping notes, but in the name with the sponsor, and then I play the song. And everybody's like, "Wait, why is there a song? Why is
Right.
there nobody like screaming at us, please take the evaluation? Yeah, please don't move without taking the evaluation. And we are brought to you by blah blah blah," and they don't even remember who blah 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 is.
No.
So right now the creativity has to kick in
Yes.
big time.
Because that's the thing that gets people off Candy Crush.
Yes.
When you're
I
sitting
don't
in
know
that
if people
room.
play Candy Crush anymore. I mean, I don't know,
I'm
but
sure they do. I think it's like the biggest game in the
you
world,
know
right?
what I mean. Like you
I know
see that.
exactly what you mean. You're sitting there, you're checking your email, you're connecting on Slack to see what's going on back home or whatever you're doing. You're on Instagram waiting for the session to start, ignoring the thing you've heard a million times before. So if you can interrupt that and get
Yes,
people to pay attention, then now we're smiling. Now we're having a good time.
that is the
Um,
biggest asset right now in any event is attention.
yes. Yes.
If you don't have that, then just shut the door.
Yeah.
Don't do the booth.
And
Don't
I
do
gotta tell
anything.
you, like, what you're describing, even those sponsorship options that you were talking about, those are about creating connection.
Yeah.
And I went to a conference not that long ago where I was like, I could have done without every session. None of the content was worthwhile. The whole trip was worth it for the connections, for
Yes.
meeting with that person, for having coffee with that person, for the walk I took with that other person. But the actual conference sessions, not worth my time. And so if that's like, if you are getting creative and not just creating the same old boring content that you can
Mm,
get anywhere else, give me a good reason to get on a plane and come to your event and create those experiences that are going to drive further connection, which is
absolutely.
the thing we can't get
Which
sitting
is why the most successful programs designed right now are those that have intentional white space in them.
in our
The
Yes.
white space where, yes, I want to go have a coffee with Jen, or I'm going to take her to Salem for my tarot card reader because he kicks ass. Yes, that's going to happen.
Okay.
And, in September. But like so these are things that then you look forward to
Yes. Yeah.
because, like you said, you can get the content anywhere else.
Yeah.
But if I told you, oh, last year, did you come to my meetup last year at Inbound?
Yeah.
Did you? Did the belly dancing with the 350 other people?
Yeah.
So people still talk about that.
It's great.
It
I
is.
mean, that's an experience, right? That's something that's set apart.
Exactly. But the whole thing is if you are not creating memorable peak moments. So the ask is anybody that's creating an event or even an event within a booth, what are the peak moments? Because those are going to be your new that those are going to be associated with new KPIs and metrics.
Yeah.
Not vanilla metrics. I'm not into vanilla, but like not vanilla metrics. Oh, how many people came? How many business cards did we scan? Blah 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 blah. That's not about that.
Yeah. Right. For sure. For sure. Now we've spent a lot of time talking about design and the
Mhm.
different experiences and activations. I want to talk about marketing
Let's-
and how you are, getting that buzz and that excitement around an event and making that last beyond the event itself. And so we touched on this earlier. We gave you guys a little sneak peek. We were going to go here, but you wrote a heated rivalry playbook
Yes,
that
I
talks
did.
all about like what we as event marketers or as marketers in general can learn from why heated rivalry was such a viral success and making these events edit worthy. So can we talk a little bit about event marketing strategy? And, one of the things I found really interesting about that playbook is that The event itself is the season finale. It's not the whole thing. It's all about what you do before. And so often we're just like 3 days before going, I guess I'm going to go to an event next week. Right. So yes, I want to talk all about what can we learn from heated rivalry to make our event successful?
So what can we learn about heated rivalry? That's a session on its own. But so the reason why I wanted to point it out is because everybody has a traditional event marketing playbook. So they go the route of, let's do tiles for the speakers. Let's do tiles for the attendees. Let's do tiles. I'm joining, I'm going, all of that. What happened with heated rivalry that stuck with me is, and often us as event professionals, we need to take a look at signals and what's happening on the consumer side. As a consumer, you and I are consumers. How we binged, and we're continuing to binge heated rivalry, and it's almost as if it is an event, and what that has done to other attendees, to other fans. And then we replicate, or we like sort of steal ideas. So if we look at what happened, it was a low budget type of series, not on a lot of people's radar. This was last November or December. The fandom and the marketing that happened and that made it blow up is the permission that the fans that really loved it and were actually doing their own interpretations, which are like the edits on TikTok and Insta, etc., of the content that they consumed. And then they went off and they started doing additional content. So like if we talk about, what does that look like from an event side? This is what it looks like from an event side. All event marketing is logoed for the brand of the event or the company. Nothing was what had logos or stamps on it except the fans. And that's what you want. You want your attendees to go and say, oh my God, I went to Jen and Dalia's session and it was phenomenal, and these were my takes on it. And they go and they do an edit. What I think is a missed opportunity is, instead of trying to put your brand on everything, you need your fans to do their own branding. You need your fans to be the ones who say, I'm going to take the most trending song, I'm going to do my own edits, and I'm going to share it. And I'm going to show the content that I consumed it my own way, because this also shows you content formats have to be by in different flavors, and then you get to see, okay, someone really liked slides instead of Jen and Dahlia doing an audio or a video like this, right? And they take they take snippets of it. And you can put, like, as an event organizer, if you want this, I've never seen this happen, but I think all event organizers right now should take B-roll, should take snippets from like sessions, like just sound bites, and put them in a Google Drive and give access to all attendees and to all speakers. Have at it. You do whatever the shit you want. And that is what kept on rolling after everybody started watching over and over again heated rivalry, and to a point where they started feeding off of each other and then connecting with the fans on TikTok, etc. So like, I don't know if you saw this or not, but there was this one fan who hit like 4 million views like almost overnight on one of the edits that she did. Her name is Melly. And it was like the thing, right? It got huge like promotion on TikTok, and then all of a sudden HBO offered her a job as an associate producer. Do what you did for Heated Rivalry for all of our other series. And I actually spoke to her because she lives in Back Bay here in Boston, because I'm like, what the hell did you do? She goes, I just showed what I loved the most about the series in my own way over and over again, and I got and people resonated with that. That's what every event marketer wants.
Yeah. Well, and I think that your point about creating like giving people access to content is such a key missing piece, right? Because I've hosted and planned some pretty incredible events, and they sometimes get shares and edits from the people that were there, but it's always like a let's see if people post about it,
Yeah.
right? And when they do, it's a bonus, right? So creating that, giving them something to work with, so easy, right? We just hosted an event in November and it would have been perfect for something like that. If we had had a professional videographer in the room just taking B-roll and put it into a folder for everyone to access. They want to see pictures of themselves with their friends.
Absolutely.
They want like, and they're not getting those. They're not getting them
But
themselves.
what I would take it a step further, and this is an
Mhm.
activation, and
Yes.
we've actually done it. So this is a disclaimer. We have done this in the past where we would do like brand labs and so forth. The
Mhm.
reason why people get hesitant of doing something, whether it's new or whether it's social media related, or even like, doing what you're asking them to do, like promote or put a montage together or whatever, is because they don't know. So as an activation or something cool, and this is you empowering them, spend 30 minutes, bring someone in that shows them how to do it. Make
Mhm.
them comfortable with the tech and the how so
Mm.
that they can roll with it.
Yeah. That's a great idea too. I mean, just like not waiting, like the like influencer marketing, like you don't have to, it's kind of an in between, right? Like
Yeah,
you could hire influencers, right?
totally.
You could get it to happen organically. Great, lucky. Or somewhere in between, you can empower people to influence on your behalf by giving them the tools that they need, the
Yeah.
know how, the actual assets. It's such a brilliant idea and
Yeah.
a great way to get like, it's like, don't take my word for it.
Exactly. So it's the
Here's all the
same
people in
as,
the
when
room.
we try to talk to people about like, what do I post on LinkedIn? Blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to post anything. No, 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 no. So if you in your event in November had said, okay, everybody, we would love for you, to tell us what the top 3 highlights were of the event, and do it in pictures. Take pictures and just do it in like quotes that you might have gotten from Jen or the other speakers, for example, and then you're just going to put it there, and this is the hashtag. Let's all do it together. Let them do it all together.
Mhm. Yep. That's a great idea. Oh my gosh, I'm learning so much, and we're going so long here, but I can't stop
I'm
talking to you.
sorry.
I want to talk about AI.
Okay.
We promised we would talk about AI before this ends, and so how can AI help in event planning? You talked a little bit about the songwriting, which I
Mhm.
love. Like, where's the like biggest source of added value in the process, and how should event organizers be using it?
Absolutely. But so that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
But let me see. So a couple of ways, and a couple of tips. This is not the time for event organizer, or actually any professional, to step away from thinking, I will wait on using AI until it is perfect, or
Mm,
until I know more of it, or until I am certified in it, because those 3 scenarios are never going to happen.
mhm,
So this is the biggest shift that I have ever seen on the tech side, period, right? Um, from an event perspective, when we look at the back of the house, for example, when it comes to logistics management, all the cat herding, all the manual processes and the data all over the place, this is where it's human led, but it's also AI, like fed, if that makes sense.
mm,
Meaning that when you take a look at all the manual processes that take up your time as a creative strategist, that's putting either an event together, or putting ideation of a content, or managing a booth at an event, this is where you need to think hard of what you can use that is maybe AI powered. Now we're in a great spot where you have event tech tools that have those kind of processes in that. You just have to leave time in your very busy schedule to play and train.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to data analytics, this is where we're going to shine. So like even with new ideas or new areas within your show floor, or metrics on attendees that are doing like real-time evaluations, you don't have to wait any time anymore to for a breakout session to be done to send out a really boring survey monkey, or like the end of an event. Have it be where it's a chat bot that is conversational. Hey, Jen, you're sitting in Dahlia's session. Is she doing okay? Like, what else would you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of like shift can become real time.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, oh, Jen says, I wish she would talk about AI and growth marketing, whatever. I'm like, oh, that's funny you say that. There's 5 other people that want it. They're going to be meeting at the Starbucks around the corner. Go meet with them. So we're at a point where I believe that event technology is going to be invisible, where you are going to go to a show and you're just going to do voice to text and say, show me my agenda today, and I want to make sure that I meet with Dahlia and with Jay and with Jordan. So let's track and make that happen. And where content is going to be what you absorb within a session, but also matched up with what you put down on paper, because now you have like all the note takers and the content summaries, for example. So we're going to have to think a little bit bigger when it comes to AI. But on the flip side, so we're talking everything about like from a marketing side, a design side, and logistics.
Mm-hmm.
We also have to think of the empowerment side. So best opportunities for on-site activations is, for example, an AI accelerator lab, or like, come here and we show you how to do prompts, even though you don't need to anymore. Or come here and let's build something together. Let me show you how to do vibe coding so that you can go back to your team back home or your C-suite and say, I'm a badass now. You can't talk to me like you did before. That is fire right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I feel like as you're talking about event technology, I'm like, talk about something that could use a little AI zhuzh these days, right? A little bit, and all in favor of improving the experience. Give me in real time a better path, or show me a session I might have missed in the traditional app, or hook me up with somebody that you think has the same interests as me. Like, we're already doing like 75% of it. You sign up for the app, it says what are the things you're interested in,
But
and
a
then
lot
I
of
don't
times
see a
their
different
navigation is
experience.
funky.
Yes.
So, like, we're still trying to find Wi-Fi codes, and stuff like that. It's so funny because I'm friends with all of them, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, come on, it's like but this is where I think the ask is going to be. It's going to have to be invisible. Because
Yeah,
I think also the younger gen, they don't want to come in and deal with that headache. We deal with the headache. They're like, no, I'm good.
yeah.
You
Just
guys
tell me.
didn't get this right from the beginning. That's on you. Give me my $2,000 back.
Right, right. Yeah. Amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how the future of events sort of like, evolve with
We
all
should
of.
do something together. That would be absolutely fab. I would
We
love
will
that.
have to.
Yeah.
Clearly, we have to.
We'll bring the tarot card reader. I think that's going to be the catch.
Do you know I have my own cards? I'll bring the tarot cards
I
myself.
have my own cards. Shut up.
See?
That's awesome.
This was a great session. Thank you so much, Dahlia. I just cannot thank you enough. This was such a great, really fun conversation. I learned a ton. I hope everyone else did too. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Make sure you're following Dahlia on LinkedIn if you're not already. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to Marketing Demystified wherever you get your podcasts, and join us next time for more conversations that help demystify the complex world of marketing. We will see you then.